Hello everyone, and welcome to another Story Explained video. In this one, we'll be looking at the short, Lovecraftian-inspired horror game from Team Terrible, The Baby in Yellow. The Baby in Yellow is a game that was made in 48 hours for GM/TK Jam in 2020. Despite this being a game which is only 6 minutes long at the very least, it's absolutely rammed with lore and it's pretty much melted my brain trying to piece it all together. But as usual, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future content. Anyway, let's get to it. So the plot is you play a babysitter who is tasked with completing babysitting tasks. These tasks include things that a babysitter would normally complete, such as feeding the baby, settling the baby, changing it and putting the baby to bed. Oh, and of course watching TV. All seems well at first, but then strange things start to happen. The baby mysteriously teleports around the house and exhibits very sinister behaviour. Eventually this results in the babysitter being pulled into some kind of portal and then the game ends. So the first question is, what the hell is going on? Let's find out. But first, we need to study some literature. The King in Yellow is a book of 10 short stories written by Robert W. Chambers and was published in 1895. One of the main aspects of the book is a fictional play of the same name, which drives people to insanity if and when they read it. This play features as a motif throughout the book and its 10 stories. We will just be focusing on the first 4 of the 10 stories as these provide the closest references to the game. These 4 stories are called The Repairer of Reputations, The Mask, In the Court of the Dragon, and The Yellow Sign. These 4 stories are closely linked by 3 things: the play in a book form, a supernatural entity called the King in Yellow, and a symbol called the Yellow Sign. Act 1 of the play is fairly bland and ordinary, but Act 2 is where it starts to ramp up and get sinister. The reader is essentially driven to madness. We see a book on the shelf in the game called Reputations and How to Repair Them. This is a direct reference to the first of the 10 stories in the book, named The Repairer of Reputations. During the second night, we gain entry to a room which looks like some sort of ritual room, with lit candles on a table and a tape recorder set on top of it. The tape recorder appears to feature a previous babysitter talking of their experience and states that they were not the first. The babysitter then gets more and more concerned as they're speaking, almost identical to the mood of the 2 acts in the play. Act 1 is calm, but Act 2 is frantic and more horrifying as it goes on. This is what the tape says.
Snow. A curiosity in July, following such a sweet spring. It started when I took this job, but I was not the first. They are with me. Night fell the first day, and the hours dragged on. Still we cared for the child. We spoke of HASTUR and Casilda in their absence, while outside the fog rolled in as the cloud waves roll and break on the walls. Oh, the sin of such innocent eyes, clear as crystal, understood by the ignorant and wise alike, more precious than jewels, more soothing than music, more awful than death. Then, as I fell, I knew that the Baby in Yellow had opened their tattered mantle, and there was only God to cry to now.
So in order to discuss this strange tape, we need to turn our attention to the 4th and final story, called The Yellow Sign. In The Yellow Sign, an artist and his model Tessie are in a library and they both end up reading The King in Yellow. Before they know it, they're reciting and discussing The King in Yellow, the exact same way as is on the tape. The artist mentions the yellow sign. The yellow sign is described as being set in black onyx. It's described as being able to produce a siren call of sorts to the dark world. Anyone who is exposed to the sign is doomed, and the yellow sign is the sign of someone or something called HASTUR. Robert W. Chambers' book didn't really explain the yellow sign in detail, so we have to look further into the Cthulhu Mythos to understand what it is and why it is even relevant to the Baby in Yellow. To do this, I have to introduce you to HASTUR. HASTUR, also known as the Unspeakable One and He Whom Is Not to Be Named, uses avatars in order to manifest. It's not really clear whether HASTUR is a supernatural being or a place, but the former is more widely considered to be his true form. He hails from a city called Carcosa, which is in another dimension entirely. It's considered to be located in the star cluster called the Hyades and is situated on the shores of Lake Hali. This explains the other 2 books we see on the bookcase downstairs. The city is seen in this picture as featuring tentacles. This is likely why when the babysitter is being taken away, they see a sort of a globe with what appears to be tentacles around it. The most relevant thing about HASTUR though is that two of the several avatars he uses are the Feaster from Afar, which is a black, large tentacled octopoid who possesses the ability to float and to fly, and the King in Yellow, in which he wears a tattered yellow mantle. The Feaster from Afar has some relevance to the game's story, as we see a mass of tentacles blocking the stairs if the babysitter tries to go downstairs. The baby seems to also have the ability to hover and fly. Another nod to the King in Yellow is the yellow crown on the baby's yellow top. Legend has it that merely mentioning the name of HASTUR and being exposed to the yellow sign summons him. Furthermore, the yellow sign is the sign of HASTUR. In the fourth story, The Yellow Sign, we see that Tessie and the artist possessed a clasp of black onyx, which they soon realised was the yellow sign. Weird stuff starts to happen as the game progresses, such as seeing creepy entities in yellow in the reflective surfaces around the house. Did the previous babysitter on the tape read the book and summon the King in Yellow, or was it intentionally set up as a ritual? Candles in the shape of the yellow sign and the tape speaking the words of the play in order to set off the whole chain of events. It's possible that this book here, How to Dream Like a King Volume 2, is the play The King in Yellow. So what is the baby? Well, it obviously has parents. Upstairs in the parents' room we find a talisman. A talisman is an object that has religious or magical powers intended to protect, heal or harm. We see a book alongside it which is Talismans and Their Uses in Childcare, which gives us a kind of foreboding about the child. This is confirmed when the child exhibits strange behaviour, to the point where the babysitter has to use the talisman on the child in order to restore the baby to its unpossessed state. Again, it raises question of why all this is happening. It's also likely that the person on the tape is the father of the baby and is obsessed with the King in Yellow. Has this person summoned HASTUR unknowingly, and as a result HASTUR has possessed the baby? Again, this is just another theory. Why yellow? Well, nothing to do with the story, funnily enough. It was simply a sign of decadence at the time the book was written, and was considered a strong choice of colour for advertising in and around 1900. That's basically it. It was a great short horror game, and like I said at the start of this video, it's absolutely drenched in lore. But that's it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel to support. Leave a comment down below on your thoughts and theories too, but for now, take care and I'll see you in the next one.